Hello, everyone. Welcome to part two of The Ancient Egyptians Were Black. And today I will share with you archaeological findings that really combine with the evidence that I presented in the previous presentation that looked at linguistics and also looked at ancient writings. And once we combine that with these archaeological findings, it becomes very clear that the ancient Egyptians were Black Africans. So I know some of you might be a bit curious about this background, and the background is from what is called the Normer Palette, which is a historical document, which was really originally a makeup used to mix makeup, but now for us it's a historical document relating to um, King Normer. So that's something to look up. I'm going to go ahead and get right into the presentation. First thing that you have to know is Qustul and Seti. Now, Seti was the world's first monarchy as can be proven, right? The world's first kingship as can be proven. And it is on the border there. It's kind of like going over into what is today Egypt and over into what is today Sudan. The borders of Africa that exist today were established in the latter part of the 19th century and have been modified throughout the course of the 20th century. But needless to say, they were not there during the times of antiquity and before what we call antiquity. So Seti was the world's first kingship, and it was in that area of what is today Egypt and southern Egypt and northern Sudan. Now, within Seti was a cemetery, and that cemetery is called Qustul, and that cemetery was found by Kenneth Seal in 1964. And so to understand what I'm about to talk about, you have to understand these two places. Seti, the world's first nation state, and Qustul, the cemetery in Seti that had various remnants from the civilization of Seti. So I'll show you here instead of just telling you. So I'm going to use the whiteboard. All right, so here is the area of Seti, and this group of people are often called the A group, the first settlers, the primary settlers who were responsible for bringing that Nile Valley culture to this region. Now here is Qustul. All right. So now you have a general idea as to where it was. You see Egypt here, and also you see Nubia. Now keep in mind that the nation of Nubia came along much later. Now there is a blood relationship between these two groups of people. So a lot of times you hear some of the Egyptologists say, oh, well, the Black dynasty is the 25th dynasty of Egypt. However, that whole Nile Valley cultural complex, beginning with the Ethiopians that I showed you in the previous presentation, also these people from Seti, and also the people of ancient Kemet. It was one cultural complex related by culture and related by blood, all Black Africans. That's important to keep in mind. So in the previous presentation, I talked about Diodorus Siculus. And Diodorus, I'm going to repeat this quote, which I mentioned in the previous presentation. They say also that the Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Ethiopians, Asar having been the leader of the colony. For instance, the beliefs that their kings are gods, the very special attention which they pay to their burials, and many other matters of a similar nature are Ethiopian practices, while the shapes of their statues and the forms of their letters are Ethiopian. So what is he saying? He's saying the same thing that I mentioned in the previous slide, that that this particular culture, Ethiopic, or as some call it, Afro-Asiatic, but this particular branch of that Afro-Asiatics flowed from Ethiopia ultimately into Nubia by way of Seti and then ultimately to Kemet. So to kind of give you a little bit of evidence to illustrate what he's talking about, we'll begin with this incense burner that was found by Qustul. And I'll present here a couple of images from items that were found at Qustul. So I'm going to give you the full image of what's going of all around this particular incense burner, and I'm going to point some things out, and we'll go back to the whiteboard here. Yeah, this thing here from the transparency slider. There we go. That's gone. All right. So first thing I want to show is this image. And I'm circling it. I'm going to circle it, then I'm going to erase it. So just so you'll know what I'm talking about. Now, this image, what you see right here being circled, that's the Seret. That is a symbolic of the home of the pharaoh. Now, the before the individual was called the pharaoh, the place where he lived was once called the pharaoh, and you can see there the Seret, the home of the pharaoh. And now look on top of it. What do you see? You see a hawk. This is a hawk. Now, who is the hawk? The hawk symbolizes Heru, and the pharaoh or the Sultan. He is Heru on earth. They thought of the Sultan as Heru on earth. Now, right next to that, I'm going to point this out. You see a king seated on his throne. In his hand, you can see the flail of cultivation. But when you see Asar with its flail, it's cultivation, but not only the cultivation of crops, the cultivation of culture, the cultivation of humanity. And additionally, you see the beard of the Sultan right here. You see his beard. Now that beard was worn, that beard symbolizes his majesty, his wisdom, right? I mean, and even Hatshepsut wore a beard as king. And here you see the white crown of the king. Mind you, folks, this is Seti, not Egypt. So here you see that influence that Diodorus was talking about that eventually flowed over into Kemet. And I'll show you another image that was found in Seti. This is really important because here we have the Seret again. Right? One symbol for kingship. But look what you see right above the Seret. You see once again the hawk on top of the Seret. There are some other really important things here. You see the bound captive. Right? So look, right, if you look, what is binding the captive? That little symbol, this is a hieroglyph, and that is the symbol for Seti. Seti, the land of the bows. Now, there's also something really important I would like to point out. Right in the middle, you see the two little things that look like a wheel here and also here. Those look like those look like wheels. But what those symbolize, those are hieroglyphs, and those hieroglyphs mean like city center or a nation or a state. In this case, the nation state of Ta Seti. So so there are plenty of evidence that reveal the what many of us would clearly understand had it not been for the effort of the Egyptologists to confuse the topic, to make it appear so that it's not cut and dry. However, in reality, when you look at all of the evidence, when you look at this linguistic evidence, when you look at the archaeological evidence, in addition to the ancient writings that I showed you in the previous presentations, the ancient writings of Romans, of Greeks, of ancient Egyptians themselves, it becomes very clear that the ancient Egyptians, like I said, were not only in Africa, but of Africa. And in my next presentation, I'll give you some insight into why there is so much confusion regarding this topic. Thank you very much for listening.